Okay, welcome everybody to another great webinar brought to you by the Maryland PTAC. I am your host today, Yasmin Razak. I'm the Marketing and Training Coordinator here at the PTAC, and I'm delighted to have you join us. Today, the webinar topic is how to conduct a SWOT assessment to determine government contract readiness. And it is led by our PTAC counsellor based out there in Hagerstown, Archie Cardwell. Archie, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
So everybody, I would like you to do me a quick favor. If you can hear me okay and you can see the screen, please raise your hand on the control panel on your screen, just so I can get an idea to make sure that nobody's having any issues with hearing and seeing the screen. Okay, I see lots of hands raised, so that's great. If at any point you have any problems with the technology during the webinar, you can post a question again in the chat box. Okay, we're going to get started in just a second. There will be lots of opportunities to ask Archie a question by writing in the question section of the control panel on your screen, and he will answer as many as possible throughout the webinar. And probably spend a little bit of time at the end of the webinar, so please stay tuned to the end. A little bit about the Maryland PTAC. For those of you who are not familiar, it is our mission to help position Maryland-based businesses to fully compete in federal, state, and local government procurement processes. If you would like to speak with a counsellor, it is absolutely free and it is confidential. Please go to our website, which is mdptac.org, and register today. A counsellor will be assigned to work with you and will contact you to schedule a session. They do counselling over the phone, they can do it in person, they can do it via a webinar. It's really easy. So I do encourage you to take advantage of this free service. If you have been counselled by us before in the past and you just haven't had any more counseling sessions recently and you need a refresher, please just log into your account on the website and request another meeting. Okay, let's get started. You can take it over now, Archie. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning to ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your valuable day to attend this webinar. I hope that something I say today will be helpful to you in determining whether your business is ready for government contracting or not. I'd like to add, in reference to me and my credentials and experience, if you'd like to, I would suggest you go to the website LinkedIn, where I maintain a profile. And there you'll find my profile contains most of my experience, and give you some idea of why I'm considered, for lack of a better terminology, a subject matter expert on this sort of thing. So we have a lot of information to cover, and hopefully it'll generate some questions, and hopefully it will answer some questions you may have if you own a small business. So why don't we get started? The workshop agenda is, first of all, let's define SWOT. There may be many definitions, but the definition that I like is it is a study undertaken by an organization to identify its internal strengths and weaknesses, as well as its external opportunities and threats, and why it is important for your business development if you're pursuing government contracting opportunities. If pursuing government contracting opportunities is your goal. So we would like to identify your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats using self-evaluation techniques that I'm going to introduce to you. As Yasmin was speaking about Maryland PTAC, the mission statement is to increase contracting activity between small businesses, prime government contractors, and the local, state, and federal governments. Maryland PTAC provides individualized counseling for government marketing strategies, government registrations such as eMaryland Marketplace, Small Business Reserve, System for Award Management, or SAM, woman-owned small business, economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business self-certification, service disabled veteran-owned small business / veteran-owned small business verification with the VA, federal and state procurement, GSA schedule assistance, bid and proposal assistance, pre and post award audits, business assessment and marketing strategies, specialized workshops and training classes. Other services, government marketing strategies, business assessment, contract compliance assistance, SBIR/STTR proposal assistance. I might add that our funding is through a cooperative agreement through the Defense Logistics Agency, or DLA. The University of Maryland administers the grant. Self-evaluation. The questions below provide a self-evaluation and a preliminary benchmark for business development to help determine if a company could be a viable government contractor, or if certain issues would prohibit a company from successfully entering the government marketplace. Are you ready for success? Potentially lucrative government contracting requires a substantial amount of time and resource commitment. Therefore, businesses interested in entering the government marketplace should consider the following questions to determine their potential for success as a government contractor. Sales. Do you have steady and or growing commercial sales, market sales that can support a new market venture? Do your customers come to you, or do you have to hunt them down? The top marketing priority for businesses is to convert leads into sales, so you have a reliable stream of revenue before you decide to expand. If you are crushing your business goals, setting specific and measurable goals that you are constantly meeting and surpassing, then you may be ready for the demand of expanding into a new market. On the flip side, if you are consistently falling short of your business goals, you may want to take a step back and reconsider expanding into the government marketplace. Do you have a solid team in place? With the right team, you can succeed in a new market. At the same time, without key players on your team, you will have a difficult time executing your vision. Do you have the cash to expand? Is your cash flow tight? If so, then this may not be the time to expand. A cash deficit is dangerous for any business. Going into a new business will put an even greater strain on your resources. 82% of small businesses fail due to poor cash flow management. What is your competitive advantage? And let me add here, in reference to competitive advantage, as a former government contracting officer, one of the very first questions that I would ask a small business owner who came to me to introduce him or herself and their business, the question is, why would I want to do business with you? I would strongly recommend anyone seeking government opportunities and going to government industry day events, meeting government contracting officers or government small business liaisons. I would strongly recommend you develop an answer to the question of why would the government want to do business with you? The next question I would add under sales is, do you have exclusive relationships with suppliers or distributors? Or do you have a well-known brand? Do you have a reasonable idea that people know who you are, what it is that you sell, or what it is that you provide? Experience and stability. Is the company well established and have the necessary experienced staff, appropriate tooling, and overall resources to fulfill government contract requirements? I would ask you, how long have you been in business and what kind of relationships do you have in the small business community? Do you have membership in any professional organizations such as NCMA, National Contract Management Association? I ask about NCMA simply because it is a professional organization that most government contracting people belong to. They belong to this organization because the organization awards them different credentials for expertise in the government contracting field. So you may have seen some of these government contracting people with all these alphabets behind their names. Well, they get those alphabets after going through a grueling set of examinations and tests to ensure that they know their government contracting. The next organization I would ask if you have heard of or if you went to their website is SAME. That's Society of Mechanical Engineers, SAME. Another organization is AFCEA, AFCEA. Now, AFCEA has a branch that meets regularly at Dutch's Daughter in Frederick, Maryland, I would add. And lastly, I would ask what relationship you have with the Chamber of Commerce in your area. I am not recommending or advocating joining a Chamber of Commerce, simply because the cost can be prohibitive for a small business. But I do recommend that you go to the website of these organizations to see if there's a speaker there that you may be interested in meeting. My next question would be, do you have an events calendar? Are you active going to small business events? Nobody knows who you are, and you need to get out and find out and meet and mingle with people and let them find out who you are. Question number 4, do you use social media like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc.? Do you have a Facebook page for your business? Not a Facebook page for your own personal use, but a Facebook page for your business. If you do, and you get likes, each one of those likes is a potential customer or client. And you need to find a way to circle back and reestablish some sort of relationship with anyone who has indicated or who has actually taken the time to indicate that they like something that they see. Also, it also goes for Instagram and Twitter. Now, in reference to your staff, if you have a staff, is it experienced and seasoned? If you are a one-person organization, what kind of experience, seasoning do you have? What kind of education do you have? What kind of past performance history do you have? The next question, do your employees have skills or expertise that your competitors lack? Now, if you're in the small business community, you know a little something about your competitors. You may even know something about the background and experience and education of your competitors. In comparison to them, how do you stack up? Be honest with yourself. How do you stack up? Do you need more education? Do you need more past performance history? Do you need more experience? The next question, do your employees have professional accreditations or certifications that give you an advantage? If you have a PMP or other technical related credential, then I would say yes, that would give you a competitive advantage. Now, the overall resources portion here means, are you registered in SAM? Have you identified your North American industry standard codes? Do you have a search engine that searches regularly for opportunities in FedBizOpps or FBO? Do you have a website? business cards, capability statement. Do you have a past performance history? Is your business registered with the state of Maryland? Have you developed an elevator pitch? Do you have a logo for your business? All of these things fall under overall resources that I think you should have. One of the things that I like to tell my clients is my objective is to ensure that they are at least equal with their competitors in technology and know-how and government contracting, at least equal. Personnel strengths. Do you have an active strategic plan and staff willing to implement government contracting sales? A strategic plan outlines the organization's purpose, goals, and the methods that will be used to accomplish the goals. The components of a strategic plan are a vision, which is what an organization wants to look and be like. Number 2 is the mission, the organization's purpose. Mission is a statement of what the organization does to achieve its vision. Goals, the end result and excuse me, the end results an organization wants to achieve. Goals are developed over time and should be specific and time sensitive, using actual dollar amounts and dates. Objective. An organization should have a minimum of 3 to 5 simple but realistic goals to strive for. An objective example would be if the goal is to achieve $1.2 million in sales annually, then the objective would be to achieve $100,000 in sales each month. Now, how do you develop a strategic plan? Employees must list what they do and what services and or products they provide. That's number 1. Number 2, employees describe customers and clients they serve. Number 3, employees discuss ways that the business can excel and what goals, objectives, and strategies will help them excel. And number 4, SWOT analysis. So this is a complete buy-in by all of the employees into having a strategic plan. If your strategic plan involves government sales, then you most definitely must have a vision, a mission, goals, and objective, without a doubt. Financial health. Is the company financially solvent with no legal judgments? Do you have available lines of credit, appropriate assets, and set accounting standards? Financially solvent. To be considered solvent, the value of an entity's assets, whether to a company or individual, must be greater than the sum of its debt obligation. So how do you calculate solvency? You calculate total assets and total liabilities. Divide total liabilities by the assets amount. This is called debt to total asset ratio. And if I'm going a little too fast, please let me know and I will definitely slow down. A solvency ratio of greater than 20% is considered financially healthy. The lower a solvency ratio, the greater probability that the company will default on debt obligation. So let me add here, in reference to being financially solvent, no legal judgments, etc. Those of you who have registered in SAM and have been through the process and have your cage code, I'm hoping that you remember the ORCA certifications that you agreed to. The ORCA are called Online Representations and Certifications. These are statements that are questions that are asked of you, and you have to acknowledge that you are or you are not a small business, etc., and you check the appropriate block. This is governed under FAR Part 9 contractor qualifications. So if you're familiar with ORCA, O-R-C-A, and you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that you will be held accountable for anything that you put in ORCA. If you're not familiar with ORCA, I would suggest that you Google ORCA to find out what ORCA is all about. So there are a lot of federal acquisition regulation clauses that you will be held accountable for knowing. If you completed your SAM registration, like I said, and you have a cage code, then you should know what those FAR clauses mean. You will see them again if you're ever awarded a contract as a prime or a sub, and you will need to know what you're signing up for. The Federal Acquisition Regulation was developed to protect the government. I repeat, the FAR was developed to protect the government. So if you're entering into a contract with the federal government, be advised that it is the federal government's game. They wrote the rules, and everything is balanced in their favor, not yours. Marketing. Does the company have a defined market plan for seeking government opportunities? So have you determined what your target market, or who your target market might be? I would say you need to describe that target market in detail. Look at size, demographics, unique traits, and trends that relate to demand for your business. And you've heard this term before, competitive advantage. Describe what gives your product, service, or an advantage over your competitors. Is your product better? Is it offered at a lower price? Or do you have an excellent customer experience? Is it made in the USA? Is it environmentally friendly? Do you have a sales plan? Describe how you will literally sell your product or service to your customers. List the sales methods you'll use, such as retail, wholesale, or your own online store. Explain each step your customer takes once they decide to buy your product. Marketing and sales goals. Describe your marketing and sales goals for the next year. Common ones are to increase email subscribers, grow market share, or increase sales by a certain percentage. Marketing action plan. Describe how you'll achieve goals, online advertising, radio ads, billboards, etc. Explain your pricing strategy and how you'll use promotions and customer support after the sales. Budget. Complete cost breakdown of marketing plan. Be as accurate as possible. You must track your costs. Next, compare your costs to the revenue that it generates. Quality control. Do you have an established quality control program with written procedures and staff designated to implement it? Ladies and gentlemen, certain government requirements have within the statement of work requirement for a quality control plan. And I have advised, and I continue to advise all of my clients, that if you don't have a quality control plan, you need to develop one so that you will have it on the shelf waiting to be used, meaning all you have to do is insert the correct names, nomenclature, titles. Every company, no matter how small or what industry you're in, can benefit from quality control. The problem is not enough small companies are using quality control, and other strategic management concepts to help them run their business. Traditionally, small businesses have been less likely to use quality control because, number one, they are a family-owned small business. Number two, the small business is focused on day-to-day operations as opposed to management models and strategic management systems. Number three, small businesses have less money to spend on training. Number four, small businesses competitors operate the same way. And number five, entrepreneurs have little desire to establish rational processes and procedures. So the QC plan basically is to standardize your processes, create checkpoints, maintain flexibility, and get your guidelines, process, and checkpoints into place. So if you anticipate being a sub on a government contract or even a prime, then you're going to have to develop a quality control plan, I guarantee you. So why not go ahead and start working on a quality control plan when you have the time? And you're going to ask me, okay, when do you have the time? Well, you need to find the time for and invest time into your business future. Electronic commerce. Is the company's technology, equipment, machinery, and training outdated? Is the company involved with social media? Why should a small business upgrade their technology? Number one, a small business could be losing up to 1 work week each year because of old PCs, personal computers. Number two, PCs that are more than 4 years old lead to a loss of 21 hours of productivity because of repairs, maintenance, and security fixes. Number three, it costs double to fix a system that's older than 4 years old. Number four, 61% of customers think a small business is outdated if it uses an operating system that is 5 years or older. Now you ask yourself, why should you upgrade? Number one is speed, ladies and gentlemen, speed. The quicker download, the faster you can move on to a sale. Time matters. You must be efficient. Number two, communication. Better communication means you can be more productive. Number three, clout, C-L-O-U-T. Be confident. And that's what an upgrade in your technology will give you. Social media. We talked about social media as far as Facebook, having your own Facebook page, trying to track the likes that you get on your Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter. I would say if you're familiar with these social media outlets, that you should use them. You should at least have something set up in each one of those because nowadays social media generates sales. Competition. Are your competitors active in the government marketplace? Do you know who your competitors are? If not, you need to find out who they are. Do your competitors have a blog, B-L-O-G? If so, join that blog. You need to know what's going on. Do your competitors have any weaknesses your business could benefit from or exploit? Are your competitors planning expansion, a new product, or service launches or other changes that could hurt your business? Do your employees have skills or expertise that your competitors lack? Now, here's how you keep up with your competitors. Go right back to social media. Maybe they've got a Facebook page or Pinterest, Pinterest. May not be pronouncing that correctly. And this other one here, Flickr, Flickr. I'm sure some of you have, I'm sure some of you know more about this than I do. But if your competitors have engaged in these types of social media, then by all means, you need to be monitoring their pages to see what they're up to. We mentioned blogs, keeping up with your competitors. Number 3, offer more competitive products. Work on your unique selling points if you have any. If not, develop some. Update your marketing techniques. Invest in an app. Invest in an app. Are you using the right software? And last but not least, listen to your customer feedback. Listen to what your customers are telling you. Teaming. Have you considered teaming with similar businesses to pursue government contract opportunities? Not only pursuing government contracting opportunities, but developing past performance history. I stress, if you do not have past performance history, that a teaming agreement may be what you're looking for. Under FAR Part 9.6, teaming agreements. A contractor teaming agreement is when 2 or more companies forms a partnership or joint venture to act as a potential prime contractor, or a potential prime contractor agrees with 1 or more of the companies to have them act as its subcontractor on a specific government contract or acquisition program. So a teaming agreement allows a small business to maintain their small business size standard while obtaining subcontracting assistance from the small business. Unlike joint ventures, teaming agreement members will not be presumed to be affiliated with each other. Avoid teaming agreements with parties that 1, share common ownership control, 2, have identical business and economic interests, and 3, would be deemed to form an ostensible subcontractor relationship based on tasks being performed by the prime. So be careful with your teaming agreements. And ladies and gentlemen, let me stress, if you're going into a teaming agreement, and for example, and you are going to be either the prime or the sub, that teaming agreement must be in writing. That teaming agreement must list the names of all the parties. The teaming agreement must list what it is you're going to do and what it is your teaming partner is going to do. It must list when are they going to do that, what's going to trigger going into action. In other words, if you got a contract for services and the start date is 1 February, then what's going to trigger action and performance is 1 February at 8 o'clock in the morning, when you're supposed to be wherever you're supposed to be to start working on that contract. So that has to be stipulated within the teaming agreement. Now, as a subcontractor, suppose you are aware of an opportunity and you currently don't have the capacity to perform it, but you know someone who does. Then to protect yourself, if you're going to present this opportunity to a possible teaming partner, then I strongly recommend that you develop an NDA or a non-disclosure agreement. I have examples of NDAs that I would gladly share with anyone who wants one. I also have examples of a teaming agreement. The non-disclosure agreement protects you in that if your potential teaming partner signs the NDA, that means they're not going to take your idea or your opportunity and go off and use it themselves and team with somebody else other than you. So teaming agreement must state all of the who, what, when, where, how, and why. And the teaming agreement must be, if I were a small business person, I would pay for a lawyer to review the teaming agreement to make sure that you are protected as a small business or as a prime. As a prime, you are liable for everything that your subcontractor does on a government installation. The government, if the government sees something that a subcontractor that they don't like as they see a subcontractor performing, they're going to come to you and have you fix whatever the problem might be. They're not going to go to the subcontractor. So and they're not even going to speak to the subcontractor. So you are responsible for your subcontractor at all times. Make sure you have that understanding. Be professional at all times. Subcontracting. So you want to develop past performance history. You want business. How do you find out who's getting these opportunities? Have you considered pursuing government subcontracting opportunities before entering the marketplace as a prime vendor? So you must identify the major prime contractors that do significant work for the government and where there may be a logical fit for services you provide. In other words, if you can provide additional capacity, if you can provide additional expertise for a prime. For example, you know that a prime won, or you heard that a prime won quite a very lucrative contract, but you have suspicions that they may need some help in certain areas. Then I would strongly advise that you set up a meeting with that company, introduce yourself, and offer your services. So you've got to research that company. There are databases available to do that. The SBA has what's called sub-net, SUB-NET. The GSA has something called the GSA Subcontracting directory. FedBizOps. We all know FedBizOps, FBO. Hopefully, you, ladies and gentlemen, you're aware of a search engine capability that you can use to set up the type of requirements that you would like to get a report on. For example, you may want to set up a search agent using your cage code that you got from SAM. There is a capability within FBO where you can insert your cage code into the applicable block, and it will pull all of your NIST code information from SAM over into this search engine that you're developing in FBO. So we need to learn how to work smart. Next is networking and industry day. You go to industry days, you do your networking, find out who's doing what, who got the award, and be their best buddy. There's another source here called Supplier Connection. This is where a lot of the major prime contractors have databases where they keep listings of small businesses with different types of services that they may call upon or they may use in the future. A lot of contracts have what's called a subcontracting plan within them, which mandates that the awardee or the prime must use certain classifications of small businesses on this particular contract award. So they may, for example, be required to use a certain number of 8A subcontractors, a certain number of service disabled, veteran-owned small business contractors or woman-owned contractors. We need to find out which of these awards has a subcontracting plan within it, which requires the prime to use certain socioeconomic types of small businesses. Now, speaking of socioeconomic types of small businesses, the government has certain categories of small businesses, such as woman-owned, 8A, hub zone, service disabled, or veteran-owned, and I may be missing one, but you've got to figure out which one of these categories do you fit into. And the reason why I say that is because the government has a plan here whereby these categories are certain opportunities rather are set aside for these type of small businesses, socioeconomic types of small businesses. Set aside program means only small businesses with the same size standard who are hub zone, for example, can bid on certain opportunities. So it goes without saying, if you're just wandering around and you haven't figured out what type of small business you are, you need to do that. You need to decide and determine what kind of small business you are, get into that box and start looking for opportunities smart in a more efficient manner and a more smartly manner. I'll say smartly here. I may not be using it correctly, but the purpose is to make you competitive. The purpose is to have you compete against companies that are your same approximate size. So determine what type of small business you are, and then get into that box, get the certifications, and look for opportunities within those areas. And so, do we have any questions, Yasmin?
Yes, we do have a question, Archie.
Okay.
Oh, actually, we have a couple. Okay. First question is there a template that you can recommend for developing a QC plan?
That is a very good question. In preparing for this webinar, I did a lot of research online, and the preponderance of the links that I came up with were links where someone wanted to charge you for help developing a QC plan or for help giving you a template. I did not have any success finding anything free. I'll put it that way. So maybe someone can persevere. Maybe someone can search Google or what search engine you have to find something free. But everything that I found was where someone wanted to charge you a certain fee for a QC plan.
Okay, and one more. Do you have any recommendations for finding teaming agreement opportunities?
Yes, teaming agreement opportunities. My first recommendation is make sure you have crossed your T's and dotted your I's internally within your own company before you start looking for subcontracting opportunities. In other words, I like to say, make sure that you're right and tight before you start going out looking for teaming partners. Going back to the subcontracting slide, there are certain databases that you can use to look for teaming partners. The first one was the SBA's link called sub-net, sub.net. The next one is called the GSA Subcontracting Directory. The next one is, of course, FBO. There's another one called Supplier Connection. There's another one called FPDS, which lists all of the awards being made throughout the government contracting universe. Meaning you go to FPDS, it will tell you who got what, how much, and what it's for. So FPDS. And then there is one called the Directory of Federal Government Prime Contractors with Subcontracting Plans. Once again, it's called the Directory of Federal Government Prime Contractors with Subcontracting Plans. Was there another question?
Yes, a couple more have come through.
Okay,
So
good.
Okay, so let's have a look. Can you give a quick tutorial on how to set up the cage code in FBO? Or is that something we should do in another webinar?
Actually, the cage code is obtained by registering in SAM. And yes, Yasmin, we, Maryland PTAP, have a course, training course entitled SAM 101. And if I'm not mistaken, Yasmin, didn't I teach that course?
Yes, you did, but we can hold it again.
Okay, we can hold it again. Yes. Yeah, so you get the cage code by registering in SAM, System for Award Management. That's sam.gov. And what was the other part of that question?
Can you give the website for Supplier Connection?
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah, you just type in Supplier Connection.
Okay, that's easy.
Yeah.
Okay, now, somebody says, regarding the QC plan, I think there are two components to look at, project management and software development. Can these two components be lumped together, or should they be separated?
They can be lumped together. They usually, when they're lumped together, they're usually called a QASP, QASP, a Quality Assurance Surveillance Plan. And if you have one, you should have the other. If you have a QC plan, you should have a QA plan. And that is an excellent question. Whomever asked that question, reach around and pat yourself on the back, because yes, they go hand in hand.
Okay, great. That's all we have for now. I'd like to encourage everybody to keep asking your questions. I don't know how much more time do we have left, Archie?
Well, let's see. I've got 10 minutes to 11. Is that the correct time?
Yes. So are you at the end of your presentation?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I was going to add that there may be more questions to ask than what I included in my webinar. There may be additional questions that you may research on the internet and see that there may be more questions that you need to ask yourself. But I would say you need to be truthful with yourself. If you don't have a good cash flow, as I mentioned earlier, then as I said, this may not be the time or the right time for you to pursue expanding and going into a totally different marketplace. If you're doing business in the private sector and you want to go into the government sector, you've got to understand that the government sector is a completely different animal. Things that the private sector or the state, for example, may be interested in, the government could care less. So if you have for example, a capability statement that you use for a private sector or the state, it's not going to work for the government. I haven't seen it, but I can tell you right now, it's not going to work for the government without a few twitches, and tweaks to your capability statement. I would be happy to take a look at anybody's capability statement if you entertain my analysis. I realize you put a lot of time into your business. You take pride in what you've done. But it's not my job to like you as a person, but it is my job to make you successful in running your small business, which means if I see something that may not be quite what it should be, then I'm going to try to gently let you know that maybe that's not what you want to do. And Yasmin, that's basically all I have.
Okay. All right. So what I've done is Archie's going to finish this out with telling you about the next steps, how to get more help with counseling with the PTAC. But what I've done in the meantime is I've uploaded your presentation onto the control panel on your screen. So you should see it. It's called SWOT. It's a PowerPoint. So just download that and save that onto your computer. If you have any other questions, now is the time to ask them. So otherwise, I guess, Archie, let me check with the question panel and see.
Okay.
Okay, one last question. Who do we send the capability statement for review? Because I would like to share mine.
So you can send it directly to archie.cardwell@yahoo.com. And let me add that Maryland PTAC prepares you for government contracting success with free confidential counseling. Register as a client or connect with your counselor at https://www.marylandptac.org. Here is the contact information, our director, Ms. Denise Warner, and then all of the procurement counselors. My area of responsibility is Allegheny, Garrett, and Washington County. I maintain an office on the campus of Hagerstown Community College in what's called the Technical Innovation Center, room 211. My office hours are from 8:30 to 12:30. I am, at the present time, a part-time counselor, Monday through Friday. I do meet outside of those hours, so if those hours are not convenient for you, please give me a call at 717-977-4300 or 240-350-1680, so we can arrange a meeting or a telephone conversation, or you can just let me know what's on your mind and I can give you some advice. That's all I have, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day for this webinar.
Okay, thanks everybody. You'll see a poll pop up on your screen. I'd appreciate it if you could just select an answer to review and rate the webinar. Obviously, this helps us improve constantly. So give us a rating, and it's all anonymous, obviously. And we appreciate that. We appreciate all of you taking your time out today. Thanks again, Archie.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Okay.